Hello and welcome back to Saber Outdoors. I am Mark Alexander. Thanks for visiting us today. Today we're going to go over fishing basics. We're going to start a new series, Fishing Basics. So by the end of this series, you will be reasonably well-rounded as far as what you know, what you can do, and what you're going to be able to go to the store and actually use as far as your knowledge. This series is not meant to make you a professional fisherman. This series is meant to make you a functional fisherman. Now, first off, we have Old Faithful. They push button. I own one of these, just one. And that's because after a little while, you're going to want to move away from a push button style reel because these reels wear out a lot faster than a regular bait caster or even a spinning rod, or some people call it an open face. We'll get to that. But this is a Lew's ultralight reel, and that's the only reason that I own it, is because it's ultralight. And you saw the last video where I used the BFS reel. I thought about using it on the same rod because you can see it's just as bendy and floppy. It's just a Walmart Shakespeare rod. That same ultralight they've had sitting there for God knows how long. 3 or 4 of them usually have a tip broken off. But all I have on this is just a weighted bobber and a teeny tiny little hook. And the reasoning for that is this is what I would use to go catch trout with normally. But this is what a lot of people use for their starting rod. There goes my other rods. Guess I'll be picking those up. But how you use this rod, you press this button with your thumb. And as you can see, if you hold with your thumb, it will stay. If you let go, line comes out. You reel it to re-engage the parts and pieces that make it reel up. Lots of people have used these. Lots of people still use these. I don't know how many people I've met that say, all I need is a classic Zebco 33. That's all I need to get me through. And maybe you're right. If that's what you're comfortable with, no, I'm not going to judge. I'm just going to keep using my bait casters and keep being able to do things that you can't do on your stuff because it's wore out a lot sooner than it should be. Now, I guess I'm going to have to... Oh, Jesus. Lean over and get this other rod. Or put this one down before I get them tangled up. That's all I need to do today, is have a nice big old rat's nest of 3 or 4 rods. That's why you should always do this. I detest people that reel it to the very end of the rod and then just leave it that way. It looks messy. It messes up the little eye at the end of your rod. This is what people call a open face, or what is correctly called a spinning reel. Now you can see the line, and this right here, this is the bail. Now, this again is an ultralight because I like ultralights, but I've got this specifically as a light bass fishing combo because until the last video I didn't have a BFS combo. This was my replacement for that. You open the bail, you hold the line with your index finger, and at that point you can cast it, do whatever you're going to do to it. When you're done with that, you do not just start reeling like you did with the push button reel. You close the bail. Lots of people don't know that, and they don't do it right, and they're just sitting there fighting with the crank trying to get it closed. And in reality, they're supposed to close the crank and then close the bail and then start using the rod. these last better, especially if you're gonna buy a cheap setup. This is the setup you want, because these last better than these, because the parts in these, the line's always rubbing on a particular section, and I found that they eventually cut grooves in it, and that tears your line up and you end up losing the big bass. And there ain't nothing worse than you having fish of a lifetime on, and because you've got terrible equipment, you lose that fish. If you're a real fisherman, you just don't sleep well that night. But as far as this goes, a little drag out. As far as this goes, I would suggest this for first-time fishermen, because when you use this, they last longer. You can buy them for massively cheap. Same's true for this. Walmart sells, I believe their cheapest combo is like 12 bucks for either one. Now we're gonna go to our third basic category. Oh, Jesus. Whew. I needed the Lord's help for that. So, what is this? What is this? It has no reel. It has only line on it. This is a cane pole. This is actually a telescopic cane pole. Now, before we had reels, we used just plain old cane poles. And this rod is stored inside. I believe this one, it might say on it. Yes, it does. 13 foot long. Now, with this, there is no reeling, and casting, there's a bit of a technique to casting. And once you learn it, you can apply it, because it's the same thing as if you were going to pitch on either of these, or even a bait caster. Usually, I will take a big, I think it's a cane end, but I'll put basically what you put on the bottom of like a chair or a table leg. I'll put one of those on the bottom of these, and I'll use this for a walking stick, and because it comes up about right for you to use to go through the woods and walk with. And then when you get to where you're going, there's your rod. This has thick line on it because there's no reel, so all the drag, all the fighting ability is in the rod. The limberness of the rod, like these are very, very limber, but there's also a drag on both of those, and we'll discuss that later. But of course, this has no reel, so this has no drag. The drag is all in the flexibility of the rod and in how you fight the fish. And we will do a video of us catching a sizable fish on a cane pole. We'll go somewhere, we'll do that. But I think I've explained everything enough that we're ready to go somewhere, and I'm gonna put you all in a field, and we're gonna teach you how to throw each one of these three. So you stay tuned. All right, guys, so we have found us a open area so that we don't have to worry about trees, we don't have to worry about sticks, we don't have to worry about tall grass. You can see this is a nice mowed area, and I don't have nothing around me that I might get hung up in. There's nothing above me, there's nothing, you know, nothing I might get hung up in. So first thing, we're going to use our push button reel. We're going to explain a few little quick things. So let me get up here close. I've got to make sure I don't step on my rods. So the crank on most reels today, you can unscrew this and switch it from one side to the other if you want. I do that sometimes just to practice, so that, you know, if somebody gives me a bait caster that's left-handed, I'm not just like a new baby whale, just like on top on most reels of this kind is a drag. That is basically how much resistance it takes to forcibly pull the line out. And of course you reel the crank to make it work. Now, whenever you're using this kind of reel, you use what I call a thumbs up approach. So you cast just like that, just like you're giving a hard thumbs up to somebody. So we're gonna give that technique a try. When you're first doing this, you know, you're not trying to cast across the lake, you just want to cast out. So let's get back from the camera a little bit more. You might not be able to hear me so well. Okay, so that's probably 15 feet out. That's enough to catch a fish. I'll demonstrate that for you one more time. Remember, it's a hard thumbs up. And that went a little farther. Sometimes they get a little caught in the grass, but that's not a problem. I usually hold the line right there to make sure that that doesn't become a problem. But at this point, all you need is practice, and you'll be able to throw this kind of setup. Just a moment, and I'll get another setup, and we'll learn how to use it right quick. All right, we are back with a spinning or open face reel, depending on who you are, where you're from. Spinning reel, get an up close look. We've got our bail, we've got our crank. Just like the other reel, you can unscrew this part and you can switch the crank from to the other side. Now, the drag on these is right there. And you, of course, tighten it down for more drag, loosen it for less drag. And on most spinning reels, there's a little flipper right here. Now, that is what is known as the anti-reverse. Sometimes casting reels also have that, push button reels that is. But you undo that and you can actually reel this either direction. Let me flip that around so you all can see a little better. See, there's no anti-reverse to it at all. But if I flip that back, now I can't reel it backwards. You always want that on unless you are tightline fishing and you don't want your rod to go flying into the water. I usually leave it locked up because I'm watching my reels good enough. Although I've had a few drug in, you know, it happens. With these, you use, instead of the thumbs up, you use a point. So you take your rod behind you, point. You know what, fellas and ladies, if you are out there, hooks work, so I'm gonna have to go get this. One moment. All right, so got our stuff undone. Now, we're just doing a regular overhand cast. So again, we're just gonna point. Goes out perfectly fine. That's easily enough line and enough place to catch fish. Now, as far as casting goes, you can, after you get a little good at just a regular overhand cast, you can do this, you know, to the side, or you can, like I just did just out of habit, you can incorporate another hand so you can have more speed on it. At first, like anything, do it slower. That way you are able to get the basics down and hopefully not get yourself in trouble. Just so you all can get an idea how long this thing is. I mean, it's at the I'm touching the tip of it with this other hand, and it's probably so far away that you all can't hear me all that well. All right, so took us a minute, but we've got our cane pole completely undone. 13 foot long, as you can see, And as you can also see, I have the bobber kind of close to me, and this line goes from down here all the way to the very end of this rod and through the eye. Some people will incorrectly just tie it to the eye, and if for some reason you get a really big fish on and they break that part of your reel off, you've just lost rig and all, and the fish has to end up with a nice big graphite stick permanently stuck to them unless they can get the hook out. I think that's not very ethical, and I don't think that's very fair to the fish. I think if there's a way that you can prevent that, you should. And this is how you do that. Now with this, you can't do the overhand like thumbs up or point. You have to do what's known as a pitch. So I'm gonna get back and I'll show you right quick. Now, I didn't talk to you during that because I'm so far away I don't think my mic would pick it up. But basically, you start out with the rod straight, and you have your bobber in hand. You lift up and then set it down wherever it is you want to fish. And then, of course, when a fish bites, you just lift up and bring it to you. Or if you've got a really big fish, you work it over to the side and bring it up on the bank. Or if you've got a buddy, they can grab it. But with this, you don't overhand it. You can side throw it, but I don't prefer that. Also, don't prefer this style of cane pole. I've got another one that has eyes on it, and that way it's a little bit easier for it not to like wrap around or anything. But this, you get a bite, and you can see, hopefully, that there's a lot of bend in this rod. And the little eye on the end of it, you need to make sure that lines up with the part of this that keeps the line reeled up. For some reason, my brain's blanking on what that's called. If I can remember or find out, I'll put it in the description. But you just lift up and set it down. And that's a good distance out. Now, people still use these if they want a really subtle presentation, because of course when you cast something out, it's going to go plop right into the water unless you're doing particular techniques. This, it's just subtle and it's just there. But now that I've given you the basic thumbs up, point, and flip, pitch, whatever you want to call it, we're going to go see if we can catch some fish on this. Stay tuned. All right, guys, so we're here at our local pond. We're going to see if we can catch something. I'm going to give you a practical demonstration of each one of these. That way you can see these techniques work. These techniques are not just internet fodder that I'm telling you in order to get a view, that you can really go do this. So you come with me. Okay, that's reasonably flat. So we're with our spinning rod. Got her done. And you can see I'm going to reel that in. And I'm standing maybe a foot, two in front of the camera, but we're just gonna roll our stuff back, point. And you can see we've got a reasonable distance out. We're using bread for bait. Just bread usually will catch a little bait stealer, or at least it'll get a few bites. Watch, I'll stop it right there. I bet I get a bite. I can see them just annihilating the bread right now. But they're teeny tiny and I probably won't catch them. So there's a practical example on that rod. Let me grab another one. I'll be right back. All right, guys, we've got our same push button setup that we had earlier. Remember, this is the thumbs up setup. So we're gonna push our button, hold our button. That way the line doesn't come out until we want it to. I'm wrapped up on the end of my rod. Glad I thought that before I started casting. But we take that and we just give it a thumbs up. And you can see we casted plenty far out there. We could catch a fish with that. In fact, we'll stop right here and we'll see if maybe we do catch a fish. We just saw a fish get eaten over there. I think the fish hear me talking. That's why they're running. Okay, we got a little bite. I could probably play with these little bait stealers and get one up on the bank, but we're here for demonstration purposes. I'm gonna grab the cane pole and I'll give you a demonstration of it. All right, now guys, I've got my cane pole with me now, and I'm gonna use that same pitching motion that I showed you earlier. I'm gonna try and show it as best I can on the camera, but you just take your pole and you just set it out there. You can do that with one hand or two if you decide. And it would really do my heart some good if one of them bait stealers would just wreck this thing. But you can do this one-handed or two. If you do two, you know, one hand up here, one hand back here. And you just pull it in and flip it out there. Now, of course, I'm back from the bank. I'm gonna walk down so I can show you like the maximum distance that I can get with this particular kind of throw, retrieve, all that other. I've kind of got you up on a hill, but I'm gonna put another round or two out. And this is about the maximum I can do. So you can see the rod, you know, this is 13-foot rod that I've said before. So I've probably got, 15 to 18 feet of line out. But I'm gonna hold the line, and I've got my rod pointed straight up. And I'm gonna, and you can see that's plenty far out. I mean, that's 13 feet worth of rod from my elbow out, and probably another 6 to 8 feet on. So that would be plenty far out to catch a fish if fish were biting. Unfortunately, all that I can get to bite today are little bait stealers, and they're not fun to watch. But now that I've demonstrated all these for you, I'm gonna turn this off, and I will see you back at the house. All right, guys, so we're back at the house. We tried to catch fish, but as you will see, I'm going to put at the end of this video where there's just an inordinate amount of bait stealers. In case you don't know what that means little teeny tiny baby fish that their mouth is only just barely big enough to get the hook in it. So you most of the time don't catch those fish. They end up just sucking your lure off of the sucking your bait off of your setup. So now you should have a basic understanding of how to throw cane pole, this spin cast or push button reel, and a spinning reel or an open face. So hopefully there was something in there that made this an easy process for you. Guys, if there's a video you want to see, if there's something you want me to do, leave that down in the comments. If you want to be on the channel, if you're somebody local, if there's a way, you can be on my channel. There's rules. We'll talk about those rules off camera. But you can be on my channel, and hopefully we will catch fish, because that's the kind of thing I like doing. I love to catch fish. But it was neat to see him eat bread anyways. But I guess I'm going to end off with that. I'm going to say all the YouTube things: like, share, subscribe, comment, and hit that bell so you can see when I upload. I'm going to try and be consistent and upload one video on Saturday or Friday. And I might upload more than one video a week. Just depends on how good things are going and how my life's doing for that week. I'm not going to promise 2 videos, but I'll promise at least 1. But if you can do all that for me, I'm just going to say you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the woods or on the water. Alright guys, we're going to just throw a little bread out and see if anything comes up, just for some filler. I love feeding fish. Throw a whole piece out there. They're like, I'm not so sure about this big piece. I wish you all could see. There are probably 50 little old bait stealing bluegill. Just thought I'd give you at least a sighting of fish before I ended the video.